All right, we're jumping right into it today. We're looking at Venezuela, where, according to a recent report, the situation has really reached a boiling point in just the last 48 hours. It's like a pressure cooker, and we're going to unpack the three key things that are cranking up the heat.
So that begs a pretty big question, right? What does a country on the brink actually look like? Well, this report paints a picture of a really volatile mix. You've got these intense political standoffs, you've got growing anxiety among the public, and then you have the rest of the world watching every single move. It's all happening at once.
And look, the report is really direct about this. It uses the phrase heightened instability to describe the last couple of days. That's not just bureaucratic speak. It means this isn't business as usual. We're talking about a super fast escalation that's put everybody, both inside Venezuela and out, on high alert.
So where's the first big source of all this pressure coming from? According to the report, it starts right at the very top. There's this immense pressure on the country's leadership, and it's creating what you can only describe as a really high-stakes political tug-of-war.
And here's what's so crucial to understand. This isn't just pressure from the outside. The report really makes it clear that the government is dealing with huge challenges from inside its own borders. That internal unrest, that's what's creating this incredibly tense situation at the very highest levels of power. And here you can really see the two sides of that standoff in action. On one hand, you've got the government, and they're basically in crisis mode, holding emergency meetings, trying to negotiate something. But on the other hand, the opposition isn't backing down. They're renewing their calls for big reforms and, you guessed it, new elections. It's a total political deadlock, and honestly, the stakes just couldn't be higher.
Now, of course, a political fight this intense doesn't just stay behind closed doors, right? All that tension, it's spilling over onto the streets. And that's our second major pressure point.
So what does it actually look like on the ground? Well, the report paints a pretty tense picture. You've got more security forces out and about, which is always a sign the government's worried. You're seeing these sporadic protests and public gatherings just kind of bubbling up. It's not a full-blown crisis, not yet, but you can definitely see the embers of unrest glowing. And the main focus of all this activity is the capital city, Caracas.
But at the exact same time all this is happening, was the official message from the authorities? Please remain calm. You see the disconnect there, right? It creates this really stark contrast between what the government is saying and the reality of what people are seeing on the streets. This quote from the report just highlights that gap perfectly.
Okay, so we've got pressure from the top and pressure from the streets. But the pressure isn't just internal. As you can probably guess, the rest of the world is watching this situation very, very closely. And that adds a whole other layer of complexity, turning what was a national issue into a global one.
So how is the world reacting? It's kind of happening on two different levels. Publicly, you've got several countries putting out these statements of concern. And, in diplomat speak, that's basically code for, hey, we see what you're doing, and we are paying close attention. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, there are all these diplomatic talks happening. The big international machine is definitely turning. But what it'll actually accomplish? Well, that's still a big open question.
Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. You've got the political pressure cooker at the top, you've got the tension bubbling up on the streets, and you've got the whole world watching. All three of those things combined create what the report very carefully calls a fluid situation.
So what does that actually mean, a fluid situation? It's a really important term to get. Basically, it means anything can happen. It's totally unpredictable. Events are moving so fast that nobody, not the government, not the opposition, not anyone watching from the outside, can say for sure what's going to happen next. It's the very definition of a country on a knife's edge.
So, what's the bottom line from this report? Look, it's not some long-term forecast. It's an urgent warning. The next few days are going to be absolutely crucial. Literally every decision, every action, and even every inaction is going to have immediate consequences for the country's stability and, most importantly, for the safety of its people.
And that leaves us with one final and really critical question to think about. When a situation is this tense, this volatile, this fluid, it often just takes a single spark to change everything. So the question that everyone is asking right now is, what's that spark going to be? What single event could be the thing that finally tips the scales?